All right, we're doing a news and notes podcast video. So this is going to be just a couple things that I want to talk about. We're going to talk about 5 teams, kind of just doing a mashup together, kind of just a long video. If you guys like this better, let me know because it is one of the ones where I'm just going to be I want to just go over the news and notes of what's been happening in the league and some of the things that I've been thinking about because I think some of the people are thinking about it as well. Hopefully they are. If not, maybe I'm just that creative. I'm not. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a news guy. But let's just jump right into it. So I'm Brad. Welcome to Undrafted Hockey Fan. We're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the biggest news, Mikhail Sergachev being out. That is tough for them. I pulled up their cap-friendly page. We're going to give it a quick look. But let's see, Sergachev, I think it was like $8 million, I believe it was. Yeah, $8.5 million out on injury reserve. Imagine that's going to move to long-term injury reserve, I imagine. I'll probably end up backdating it and try and get some of that. But it sounds like just in his first game back, playing only 10 minutes in, hadn't played since like December, like the December teens. And now you have a guy like this gets hurt and he's on that huge contract and you want him back. And I just felt so sorry for him. If you haven't seen his Instagram post, it is heartbreaking. But again, this kind of ends up, to me, if I was a Lightning, I would want to do a retool. But you have Stamkos, you have all these guys, and your core is not getting any younger, right? You have these guys signed up long term. You have Vasilevsky going to be there for a while, right? You have Sergachev, you have Hedman, you have Saranac, you have Kucherov, Cirelli, Paul, Hagel, Nikita Kucherov, like Braden Point. Like you have so much money tied up in all these, and so you're like, you need to go for it. But I wish there was like a retool ability. But you have all these long term contracts, so you kind of have to go for it. So what I was listening to with the Chris Johnson show off the STBN Sports YouTube page, if you haven't checked them out, check them out. They're phenomenal. I listen to them every week. They were talking about how the Lightning should be, the moves that they made before picking up like a Hagel, traded out 2 first-round picks for Hagel, and then they signed him long-term because he was an RFA, right? They picked up guys like Gaudreau, who had an extra year. They picked up a guy like Coleman, who had an extra year. And I think that's when you're looking at the trade deadline, being that it's going to be in about 3 weeks, most people think about, okay, what's the UFA that they should be targeting? Because you're going to trade a first-round pick for that just those month or two. The Lightning and Julien Brisebois don't do that. They look for people who are RFAs so they can retain their rights. Tanner Jeannot is one of them, right? One of those guys they want to keep. I think they waived him right. I think he's down in the AHL right now. I don't see him, but that's one that doesn't necessarily work out. That's great, I'd say. But you can see that he is. They're looking for moves like that. So you got to look at RFAs. One person I think that they may have looking at. I know they're looking for defense, but I saw Niels Höglander is potentially being traded, and I want the Red Wings to get him so bad. I'm a huge Red Wings fan. Also Sharks and the Stars, but Red Wings right now because they're kind of teetering the playoffs. And we'll talk about them later. Just like go through the quick timeline over who we're going to be talking about if you haven't seen in the thumbnail. Talk about the Arizona Coyotes, Zegras, and the Ducks. We're talking about Calgary Flames, Lightning, and the Red Wings because I always like talking about the Red Wings. So, but with the Lightning, you still have to go for it, right? You're looking for a guy that can kind of fill that. And in the same fashion that they did before, they kind of want Sergachev out until the playoffs because then they can utilize that cap space, that $8.5 million, to be able to pick up a big free agent, right? And then, or maybe 2, right? Let's say they want to go with, they want to pick up defensemen, right? Or they want to pick up some players. Let's say they pick up Tanev and Hanifin, right? And then suddenly you get Sergachev in there, like that'd be nuts, right? But that's the kind of moves you're looking at. A big move like that. I think they probably want someone with a little more term, or someone that they're going to sign longer term, right? Like a Cirelli makes sense, but if he drafted him, he's at 6.25. That's low, right? Nick Paul at 3 and change, right? Like you want these guys that are going to be here a little bit longer. So that's in my opinion what they're probably going to end up doing. And again, if you're Lightning, you have to go for it. Your core is not getting any younger. You have Stamkos this year, and he'll probably come back for a discount, probably like $4 or $5 million. And then the cap goes up to $4 million, so that gives you, $6.5 million right there to kind of play with next year. But you kind of have to go for it, which is kind of a bummer. And the Lightning are doing well, man. They're doing really well in the standings. So if you look at the standings right now, they're in a wild card position. I guess they're not doing really well, but they're in there, right? And the only thing is that Toronto Maple Leafs are ahead with 60 points and only 49 games. So they got 3 games in the Lightning, who are still behind them on 1 point. So it's going to be hard for them to break through, and it really looks like Boston and Florida really still are probably going to solidify these top 2 spots. I mean, if Toronto wins the next 2 games, they could get up to 64 points. But I mean, it really feels like Boston and Florida are really going to be up in their Atlantic. And so that's in my opinion, that's kind of one of the bigger things that's happening with the Lightning. So moving on to the next one, I do want to talk about is the Arizona Coyotes. They are supposedly getting a rink, and they're actually I just had this pulled up. There was an update that said that they could have an arena in the next 3 months, I believe it was. It looks like land deal for the Arizona Coyotes in northern Phoenix could be wrapped up in 3 months. And what was talked about last year is that the expectation was the Arizona Coyotes would have something on the books for this they had to have something concrete for this year's All-Star break. And they did not, clearly, right? And there was a lot of pushback with Marty Walsh with the NHLPA, the Players Association for the NHL. And if you're the Coyotes, and there's a huge push for them to move into Utah. Ryan Smith of the Ryan Smith Group, who owns the Utah Jazz in the NBA, has actually supposed to put up significant money for the Arizona Coyotes, which to me, significant money doesn't. And what we saw this past summer was Ottawa Senators being sold for $950 million. And to me, you're not going to get the same value for the Arizona Coyotes. And the reason why, in my opinion, is that when you buy the Ottawa Senators, you're getting a rink, you're getting an already established fan base, and then you're also getting the team, right? You're getting the whole. And if you keep them in Ottawa, that's great. You already have a built-in fan base, right? But let's say Ryan Smith said, "Hey, I want to grab this team and I want to move them to Utah." They have the arena, but it's his arena, right? So he's taking this. He's not getting access to an arena. He already has an access to the arena. And so that he's got to put up money for that for himself. So he's like, well, I'm going to take a discount there, right? You have the team, right? So he's going to get the team. That's great. And the Arizona Coyotes are definitely up on the upswing. But then you also have no fan base. There is no established fan base in Utah up to this point. And so you're losing the Arizona Coyotes fan base. And so there's guaranteed season ticket holders who've been there for a while. There's people who just are not fans yet of the team, right? So let's say you change the Arizona Coyotes to the Utah Buzzkills. I don't know, the Vultures. Let's go Utah Vultures because that's kind of funny. I don't know why. I just makes me think of desert. So the Utah Vultures. There's no fans of the Utah Vultures. There's no fans of that, and Arizona Coyotes fans are living in Arizona, so they're not coming over to Utah. So to me, sorry, I'm getting over a cough. To me, it's a more depreciative asset, still a very highly valuable asset, but not worth the same $950 million that the Ottawa Senators are paid for. If I were Ryan Smith, I'd rather start fresh, in my opinion, but I know he just wants to get in the NHL, which I think would be sweet because they're also looking out in Utah to build another arena, a new arena to house an NBA team and an NHL team, because the Olympics are looking to coming to Salt Lake City, I think in 2030, I think. So that would be great for them. They have a great rink already, and so you got to look at something like that long term. And this guy's pushing hard, and he wants to be part of there, and that's huge. You want owners who want to be a part of this. So I think that would be great for the Arizona Coyotes. I'm kind of over this, I'll be honest, and I feel bad for Arizona Coyotes fans. And I would, the best deal would be sell the team to someone who already has land, who's a billionaire in Arizona, who already has land and can keep them, for the fans' sake, keep them in there. If you can't do that and you can't keep the Arizona Coyotes in Arizona, moving them to Utah makes the most sense. And I'm sorry, Arizona Coyotes fans, but that is just the reality of it. There currently is not a situation, and it's not the fans' fault. Although the fans aren't selling out Mullet Arena, which is like a 5,000 person arena. But I don't fully blame them on the fans. It's kind of disheartening that they had to play in a college arena. But to me, you need someone who's going to produce. The league. All 31 other owners are losing money on the Arizona Coyotes because it's a revenue share, and they're losing money because they can't even sell out a 5,000 person arena. So I'm kind of over it. I understand. And I haven't been talking to her for that long. I just been hearing about it. And so to me, I don't know why they can't get this done. And I understand there's probably a lot of animosity. It feels a lot. I really wish the Phoenix Suns owner had a little more interest, but I think that at this point they're just recognizing that there's a lot of issues. And I don't know. To me, that would make sense. I would love for Ryan Smith. I guess Ryan Smith wouldn't want to partner with the Phoenix Suns owner, but I don't know, man. That would be the best option, but he has expressed that he does not have any interest in the Arizona Coyotes, unfortunately, which is tough. But hopefully we see something happen with the Arizona Coyotes again. For the fans, I would love for them to stay in there. I really like the Arizona Coyotes. I thought they did a rebuild properly. Them and Chicago are doing it properly, right? Tear it down to the studs, bring on one-year players, and then sell them. Picks. Flip, right? To me, and now Arizona Coyotes are kind of coming up. They have like Dylan Gunther. They have Mosier. Keller's looking phenomenal, right? So there's a lot of good things happening in Arizona, and I hope they can get more out of that. So, anyways, another one we're looking at is the Anaheim Ducks. And one of the things I want to talk about the Anaheim Ducks is that they have Trevor Zegras. And Trevor Zegras is just signed a pretty decent deal. If we go to his deal right here, let's go. Where are you at, Trevor Zegras? Why can't I find you? Are you on IR right now? No. You are on IR. Oh my God, I didn't know that. Oh, that's a bummer. Well, that makes it harder to sell. So he does have 3 years left. At 3 RFA years, he's at a $5.75 million. And it sounds like, based on what we're hearing from a lot of the trade talks, is that they're looking to sell him, because it doesn't sound like they fit into his plan. Maybe it's his style, but if you can get a packet, you could sell off Zegras. There was talks of him going to the Montreal Canadiens. They're just picking up everybody. He's like, I don't want to say scraps, but they picked up Newhook. They traded a first and a second round pick for Alex Newhook, who wasn't working out on the Colorado Avalanche. And then they picked up Doc, who wasn't working on the Chicago Blackhawks. So I'm not saying they're picking up scraps, because these are great players. I like Kirby Doc. I don't mind Alex Newhook. I think he's fine. But again, when you're looking at some of the center depth of Zegras, I think he has a higher ceiling, in my opinion, than, you got Suzuki, who's a star, right? So you have Doc, Suzuki, Newhook, Zegras. And you're going to probably end up moving one of those guys to the wing. Maybe end up moving like Newhook or something like that. It feels like Zegras might be a little better on the wing, kind of gives him a little less responsibility, allows him to go out and be a little more aggressive, right? So he can be a little more offensive, which would be a great focus for him. And so for me, that would allow him just to kind of explore his own way, right? I would imagine if you got the Philadelphia Flyers that traded for him. That would be phenomenal. I would. So crazy thing. Okay. I wasn't planning on talking about the Philadelphia Flyers, but I want to talk about them real quick. So again, this is off the cuff. So I'm gonna pull them up real quick, because I think this end up being really smart. So right now they're Philadelphia Flyers. So this is gonna tail into selling off. So we're not moving off Anaheim. We're still sticking on Anaheim. But there was talks of Philadelphia Flyers wanting to move out, or people wanting to pick up Rasmus Ristolainen, who his deal, dude, I'm so excited for the Flyers. I'm excited for what they're doing. Rasmus Ristolainen on a 4-year deal. Okay, so imagine this happening. So he's at a 4-year deal, $5.1 million. That's a lot, right? So imagine this. You have Philadelphia retain on Ristolainen for the next 4 years. So let's say I'm just gonna do this. Okay, let's say you have Rasmus Ristolainen move. I don't know who this is gonna be, because this is gonna be so exciting. So the goal is Philadelphia gets Zegras. I don't know. I don't know the parts. I don't know the parts yet. I don't know the parts, but they're huge. They're huge. That's my Trump impression. Thank you for my TED talk. So you have Rasmus Ristolainen retained. Let's say it's $1 million. Let's call it $1 million, make it nice and easy. And then you have them retain $1 million. So over 4 years, that's $40 million. Maybe next year too, right? So they call it 3, right? You trade out, let's say a first round pick. No, you try to trade out let's say you trade out a second round pick and like a couple picks, and then so they're retaining on Ristolainen for the next this year and 3 years after, then they're trading for Zegras. Yeah. So you trade out the second round pick. You could actually trade out the second round pick that Anaheim gave with Ristolainen, million retained, and you get back Zegras, right? And then Anaheim flips Ristolainen, half retained, to Toronto or something like that. Like, that would be nuts. That would be perfect for everybody. However you want to split it. But to me, you're going to split you're going to be able to retain on Ristolainen. People want Ristolainen for some god-awful reason. I don't know why. But again, this works out in everyone's favor that you probably end up getting like a first plus for Rasmus Ristolainen. So, and everyone already knows you don't want Zegras, so you're probably not going to get a huge package for him. But to me, that would make sense. I mean, honestly, you could probably, if you traded out a first and Rasmus retained, it's the retained part that I have an issue. And we know that Anaheim has an issue with retaining. They don't like retaining for some reason. So, but to me, that would be even more incentive for Philadelphia to hold on to it. Then trade out Zegras. I love this. I'm obsessed with this now. This is crazy. I would let me know what your thoughts are, Philly fans, because that would be so silly. I can't wait for this. I'm excited for this. That would be so good. It would work out in everyone's favor, right? You know, Anaheim gets Zegras off their back, right? And they want picks anyways, right? They probably want good players. I mean, unless there's some good players that they want from the Philadelphia Flyers, but if they would have, I mean, they already got one of them, Cutter, right? Gauthier. So I don't know. That just seems to make sense. And then you get and then Zegras and Jamie Drysdale, who are butt buddies and they're adorable and they like watch the shower and it's like their relationship is so adorable and that'd be so great to bring them back together. I just love that because you hear about the romanticism between Zegras and the way Zegras talks about Jamie Drysdale. That would be perfect. And you know the GMs already talked because they made a trade together, right? Because there is this such thing that GMs don't make. Some GMs don't talk to other GMs. Like, they just don't happen, which is crazy to me because you should be open to everybody. But to me, that would be romantic and probably not going to happen, but that would be adorable. And it would make sense for a rebuilding team like Zegras, or for Zegras to go to, like Philadelphia, who's in the teardown. I mean, imagine you have Zegras, and then Zegras is your center. You have Matvei Michkov on your wing. You got Jamie Drysdale on your defense, right? And Emerson, what's his name? Samuel Erson's looking great as a goalie, 24 years old. I mean, so you got 24-year-old there. You got Zegras, who is 21. You have Drysdale, 21. And you got, like, Bonk coming up. You got, like, a lot of good guys. You just signed Owen Tippett for forever. Like, you have a lot of good pieces. And I think this could work out so well. And I'm so excited for it. This works. This makes sense. Make it happen, Philadelphia. Make it happen. Do what you got to do to get Zegras. I love that. All right, that's my Zegras talk. I didn't expect that, but I'm actually more happy that it happened. So, moving on to another one. Speaking of selling off, you have the Calgary Flames. And to me, they have to retool, right? You're looking to retool. You're looking to get some value into these guys. You've already sold off on two of your guys, Lindholm as well as Zadorov. And to me, I thought they did actually really well. The Zadorov kind of made sense, which is also crazy. It sounds like Vancouver actually, there was talk for a second that Zadorov was going to be sold off again, which would be crazy in my opinion. But you're trading out Lindholm, right? And so you get Andrei Kuzmenko, Yoni Yermo. It sounds like he's not anything crazy. Hunter Brusnevich, whatever it is. He's a third round pick, but I hear Jeff Merrick said he was a third round pick in 2023, and Jeff Merrick said he was the Adam Fox of the OHL, which is wild. Plus you get a first round pick in there, and you get a fourth round pick. I mean, it's conditional, right? So that's not a big deal. That's not the be all end all for Elias Lindholm. Half retained, or not even retained. They didn't even retain any. That's even crazier to me. Well, I guess the Kuzmenko makes sense. Kuzmenko is the guy that they moved out, and Canucks got cap space back from for the Lindholm trade. But again, I think this worked out for everybody. I think this is a smart deal. It looks like Kuzmenko is kind of allowed to be Kuzmenko again. Scored a couple goals. He's got like 2 goals right now. And the Vancouver Canucks get their center, which I think is really exciting for them, and I'm really happy for them. I think this is a win-win-win. I think Calgary Flames did very well. I think Vancouver Canucks needed to make a big move like this, and they were willing to trade, and which is sweet. That's amazing, and I'm really excited that they were able to get that. But to me, I think this is a win. I see no issues right now. I love this deal. I'm a big fan, actually, and we'll jump over to the other center deal as well. So talking about the other deal being that the Canadiens, who, by the way, picked up a first-round pick for the Calgary Flames first-round pick for Sean Monahan, for just taking on his contract, also get a first-round pick for Sean Monahan. And what a great deal. I mean, in a conditional third if the one of my Jets win the Stanley Cup. But, I mean, you're guaranteed a first-round pick, which is sweet. And look for how cheap Monahan is. That is a great deal. And I think that's kind of why the first-round pick ends up being there, is because now that Lindholm's off the market, the centers are gone. All the ones that you want out of the which was Lindholm. Lindholm was the center, right? But now there's a couple other centers that are being talked about, just because I think Olofsson is being talked about from Buffalo. Like, just any center at this point that they can get is appealing, because the 2 biggest centers are off the market. Because we know Colorado was looking at a center. We know that Boston was looking for a center. So you don't think that they're not just going to not look for one now, but they just probably pick a smaller price instead of like a first-round pick. Boston doesn't really have money first-round picks, so I don't really know what they're going to be offering. But either way, great job by Kent Hughes of the Montreal Canadiens for flipping Sean Monahan for another first-round pick. I mean, let's look at the Canadiens real quick, because I'm curious, because the amount of picks that they have is wild, and they need to pick up some stars with this, by the way. But to have 5 first-round picks over the next 3 years, that's awesome. That's amazing. And they got 4 second rounders as well. So you got 9 picks over the next 3 drafts in the first 2 rounds. That's awesome. That's very good. I love that. It's very exciting for the Canadiens. Again, doing a rebuild fairly well is taking a while. I know Canadian fans are impatient, but this is what a true rebuild looks like to me. And I think it's really smart what the Canadiens are doing, and I'm sure they're going to leverage, I guess, not this projected cap space, but the current deadline cap space. They're definitely going to leverage that and probably take on some bad contracts, which will work out really well for them, because then they can just get more picks. And then potentially what you can do with these first round picks, by the way, you can trade them for players, right? We saw that when they picked up Doc, like mentioned earlier in the video, as well as picking up Alex Newhook. Would I have traded those picks for them? Probably not. But again, that's the goal, is acquiring picks, is to be able to use them to get players or draft players, which, again, the Canadiens are totally open to, because they are still in the rebuild. So anyways, so moving on. And the last one I want to talk about is the Detroit Red Wings. Enchanté. If you missed my last video, I'm very pro sell. To me, for the Red Wings, I think there should be a sell. I think they should be, because if you look at the standings, to me, it's not their year, and that's okay. But I know there's certain pieces that I would sell, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to give you a quick review of the video that I did before. With this, you have so many teams that are kind of creeping on you. The New Jersey Devils, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Islanders, right? Like, these kind of guys are all starting to, look at 48 games. So if they win the next 2 games, they're at 57 points, you're at 58. If they win 1, they're at 55, you're at 58. So there's only 3 points away, and you're starting to get like who? And think about this: who's going to buy? Well, we know Devils are looking to buy for goalie. Okay, so they're already going to move out picks for this and get a goalie. There's talks about them getting Markstrom. Talk about that Calgary fire sale. Remember we talked about that. So they're looking at Markstrom. They're looking at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have to go in. You have Sidney Crosby. They might sell on Gensel maybe. but they're going to probably try and use that first round pick to get another player. Maybe. Again, you know that they're kind of desperate in that case. And then you have the Islanders, who all have all those long-term contracts. They're also a little bit desperate, so they're probably going to try and buy. So to me, and then Lightning, they need to buy because they just lost Sergachev. Flyers, they'll probably sell, so that probably ends up taking one of these Metro teams, kind of fills them in there. But to me, in the Atlantic is, to me, these 5 teams, the Boston, Florida, Toronto, and Tampa, I still think they're better. I just think they're better teams, and I don't think that the Red Wings win a round on that. And so to me, why not sell your guys and get proper value for them, in my opinion, and get more picks so that you can flip them for players at the draft. You can move up in the draft, pick your guys out, or flip them for players. Like, I know Steve Eisman likes to say he likes to trade for established players. I think that'd be great, right? So look at some of these players you can do. David Perron, we know he's a playoff guy. He's won a Stanley Cup. You could probably get this year, maybe get a third round pick. Maybe get a couple picks there. Like, probably get a third or so, maybe even a second. It does have a modified no trade clause, so 10-team no trade. I mean, that's probably the 7 Canadian teams and the 3 California teams. And if you want to go to LA, he would go to LA because LA is, they're dropping off like flies. But if they got someone like Perron, I think that would be a great upgrade. I think he'd play very well with them, right? Selling someone like Daniel Sprong, great depth piece. You could honestly, for him, an easy third to me. And also, if you're selling guys, you have players in the AHL that want chances. Honestly, you could probably take a player back and get a higher draft pick. Let's say you did David Perron, you retain half, and you took back a guy with salary, and you got like a second round pick for it. Like, that'd be sweet. Same with Sprong, right? Or let's say you just sell Sprong for the third, and then suddenly you have a spot for Berggren to come up now. So Fisher, I like Fisher. I think he's playing really well, but I think he's expendable. I mean, he's 26, so if you want to keep him, maybe for next year, but to me, not worth it, right? I think maybe if you want to get a package for a real elite player, you throw Joe Veleno in there. Gostisbehere, great player. There's so many defensemen in the AHL. I want to move off of some of these guys, right? Move off of Shane Gostisbehere, right? In the offseason, you maybe move Olimata or Jeff Petrie. You buy out Jeff Petrie. You just buy him out because I don't need old defensemen. It's actually, it's even less of a slight on Petrie. To me, it's, you have an Edvinsson. You have an Alfred Johansson. You have Albert Johansson. You have a William Wallinder. These guys are knocking at the door. And you already have 7 defensemen. And you need to move some of these guys, right? You can't re-sign Shane Gostisbehere. It's just not worth it. Get Edvinsson up here and get him NHL experience so he can be your elite guy. It's not going to make sense to keep a guy like him because you're already so crowded. And it's Yzerman's fault for signing Justin Hall to a 3-year deal. $3.4 million for 3 years. Get fucked. I mean, Ben Sherratt, too long for too much. I wouldn't have signed. I mean, that's Hall, Sherratt's played better, by the way. I will say Sherratt has played better. But to me, you're making a mistake. I like Olimata a lot. I wouldn't want to move off him, but if you need to make room, you move him, right? Because you're not going to be able to move Justin Hall. You're not going to be able to move a Sherratt. You're keeping Seider. You're keeping Wallman. So there's your top 4 right there, right? Sherratt, Hall, Wallman, Seider, right? You move Gostisbehere. That brings up Edvinsson, right? So that transfers over. Then you have, so that's 5, right? Then you have Olimata, Hall. No, because you have Petrie and Gostisbehere would be gone. Okay, so then you bring in Albert Johansson. There's your 6 right there, right? And you want an extra one? You bring in Wallinder. Or you sign a guy in the offseason. But to me, you need to make room for these guys. And there's no room. So that's why I'm pro sell. Get your assets. To me, it doesn't make sense to go to the playoffs. I want a quality team. I don't want a half-ass team. I want a quality Red Wings team. I don't need C-level guys. I mean, and maybe Gostisbehere's playing more like a B, but to me, I need my A's. I need your A-level players. I need your Marco Casper, who's working his ass off in the AHL, to get a spot up here and earn a spot. But you need to give him there needs to be opportunities, right? And there's such a logjam. And don't tell me about Berggren. He should be up, but you signed too many UFAs, which is fine because they're doing okay and they're in a wild card spot. But to me, you sell and you still try and go for the playoffs. Do you imagine you sell Gosper and you bring Edvinsson in, right? You sell on Sprong, you bring Berggren. To me, they're fairly close. You get worse. I will say you get worse. But to me, you sell, so you get assets back, and then now your other players get experience. That's exciting to me. You want to fire up the fan base, and you want to sell more goddamn tickets. That will sell tickets. So to me, that makes sense. And again, if you want to sell off on Reimer too, I think you can. Someone needs a goalie, right? Get a 5th round pick for him or something like that, a 5th or 6th. It's a guy. It'd be an extra goalie at this point. So those are my rants on the Red Wings, and those are the Red Wings, and then some of the things that I think they should be doing. A lot of people think I've had these conversations with people. I think selling makes sense. It just makes sense so that they can go all in, right? Like take 2 steps forward, so you can take 4 steps 2 steps back, so you can take 4 steps forward. That's just how it is to me. That just makes sense to me. But let me know what your thoughts are. Hit like, subscribe, comment, and let me know if you like doing this news and notes updates. So we'll kind of go from there. Appreciate it. Love you.